Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, to the most relatable sports podcast in the airways. My name is Mike. I'll be your host, joined with my guys, John and Mike, Mr. Tesla Mace himself. Welcome back, guys.
What's
Welcome
going
back.
on, Mike?
Welcome back. You
Thank
know,
you. Good to be here.
trying to trying to take in all of the action of this week. Lots of stuff going on. That's for sure. Lots of drama going on in the NFL. Lots of drama going on in the coaching world in the NFL. Lots of drama going on in the NBA. Got some coaching news. Some potential head coaching jobs being interviewed for that I didn't realize even was an option um, in the upcoming weeks. But we'll see how that rolls. Um, why don't we just start walking down the NFL wildcard week, man? Lots of really good matchups. I'm actually going to save some of these and go to some of these in order, just because I think there's a little more parity in some of these matchups. But we're gonna start off with Miami and Kansas City, where Kansas City ends up beating Miami. Here we go, 26-7. Mahomes throws for 262 and a touchdown. Tua ends up for almost 200 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Mike, what'd you see in this game? I think he's frozen. Or are
Oh,
you frozen? Go ahead, Mike.
so what are my thoughts on this game, sir? I didn't. It froze on my end too.
Yep.
My thoughts are Miami blew it the week before when they didn't get a home game. Um, Tua, man, Tua might not be that guy. Um, if you look at his numbers with Tyreek Hill, Waddle, great. When you take one of those guys out of the lineup, his numbers go way down. Um, they they got down early, couldn't come back. Tua, he I don't know. It's just like 2 weeks in a row versus Buffalo, same thing, just couldn't do it. Um, you know, uh, Unfortunate they were playing in terrible conditions, but you gotta do that when you don't win your own division. So they put
Yep.
themselves in that position, unfortunately. But credit to Kansas City. Kansas City is doing Kansas City things. They're gonna be a tough out. Mahomes on the road next week. As a dog in his career, he's 8-1. So that'll be interesting little highlight to that game. I know we'll get into that a little bit more, but I Kansas City defense looks solid. They're ready to play in bad weather. And Kelsey's there. They say they don't have a receiver, but they have Kelsey and they have Rice. I still think eventually someone else needs to step up on that team. Someone from the receiving core needs to step up.
Agreed.
And if they don't, they are going to have a little bit of trouble. But if they can continue to play from ahead in the game and run the rock with Pacheco and bringing in Edwards Hilaire every once in a while, I mean it's not the style we're used to seeing from Kansas City over their Super Bowl runs over the last years, but it's effective and they're a tough out. So yeah, Miami though has some problems. I don't know if you commit to Tua long term, and uh, it's tough. It's tough because I do feel he's a above average quarterback in the NFL. But is he elite? I don't know. He has elite receivers. I'll say that. An elite system. I'll say that. But I don't know if he himself is elite. And I think he's almost too cautious. And I remember him at Bama. He was a good scrambler. He wasn't a runner.
Yep.
He was a good
Mhm.
scrambler. And I feel like those 3 concussions he got last year um, has really made him less of a scrambler. He's worried about getting hit, rightfully so. Don't get me wrong, but you take away that dynamic of his game, and uh, he's not a good pocket passer quarterback. And you take away him moving outside the pocket, being able to scramble a little bit, at least the ability to do so, and it takes away a huge element of his game. So can Miami's back in warm weather. Kansas City going to the cold in Buffalo. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that matchup. But we'll talk about that more in a minute, I'm sure.
You're absolutely right, and the receivers needing to step up. Rice stepped up with 130 yards and a touchdown. What, John? What'd you see?
Yeah, so I agree with Mike in terms of how Tua is. I almost want to say confined, and I think that's part of the system around him. There are times when Tua will move the pocket and there'll be a hole that's open, and it's I feel like he wants to go take it, but for whatever reason he doesn't. Right, so I don't know if it's through discussion that he's not allowed to, because I know that sometimes systems will limit quarterbacks, so I do understand that piece, but. But I feel like because he's so limited, it hurts his game, right? Moving on to the game specifically. So Tyreek Hill gets a 53-yard touchdown, exciting, big touchdown for the Dolphins, and then that's it. That's it. Running game was less than sufficient. What do we got? Four running backs that total 18 carries for 76 yards combined. Really rough, and when you need to run the ball in cold weather. And when we say cold, wind gusts at 25 miles per hour and wind chill factor at minus 27. That's horrible, right? So don't even know how these two teams played. But when you look at the Chiefs, you said Isaiah Pacheco ran the rock for 89 yards and a touchdown, and good for Harrison Butker. So when you kick, and Mike, you know this probably more than anybody else, when you kick a frozen a field, I'm sorry, when you kick a football and it's frozen, it feels like a rock, I'm sure, right?
Oh, definitely.
And Butker got four through the field goal post, so good for him. Chiefs are battle tested. I think the word I'd like to use for the Chiefs would be gritty. Right? They can play these rough games. They can get through, and the defense again solid. So yeah, and rightfully so. So it was a good game. It fell the way I thought it was going to fall. And then for the Chiefs, it's on to the next.
We definitely knew the cold was going to play a factor, right? Temperatures were so cold that Mahomes' helmet shattered on one of those
Oh
hits.
yeah, that was crazy.
Uh, I was absolutely shocked that the refs didn't stop
I
play
know.
to let him
Yeah, it took him
change
like
the helmet.
two
Right.
plays to even realize it.
I don't know
Yeah.
how you don't realize the main guy on the field has a cracked helmet, but
Yeah.
um couple of random facts. There were actually 69 calls from fans inside the stadium and out in the parking lot to the Kansas City Fire Department,
Wow.
mostly related to hypothermia.
Wow.
Out of those uh, calls, 15 of them were taken to the hospital. Now that doesn't
Oh
include
my
any
goodness.
of the calls that were made to the crew that work inside the stadium. So that was just calls to the KC Fire Department. That wasn't anything
Was
else.
it the guy
That
with his shirt off?
no, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Dude, that was cold. I think I
Yeah.
saw what we see. Um, we saw water bottles being kept warm in a fridge and would freeze as soon as they got taken out. Right,
It,
guys trying to open up beers on in the stands and that freezing over. I'm like,
it froze over
that's
so quick too.
Yeah. Andy Reid's
um
mustache freezing over.
Oh, that was
oh
so gross.
man.
Yeah, just hanging
Those
out.
memes were hilarious. Him
Yeah.
him looking like a frozen seal out there. I had seen one that compared him to the snowman from like the 1950s show, the old school claymation. That was pretty hilarious. Um, just for reference, Miami led the NFL in total offense this year, and only scored 7 against Kansas City. Man, that'll give you a heads up of how well Kansas City played on defense and how much that weather affected Miami.
One
Let's
more
move on.
comment.
Yeah,
I
go
got
ahead.
one more comment on that. So, John actually reminded me of it. So, um, that is a problem if Kansas City's going to have to settle for field goals. So, I mean, because I always felt that that entire game, I was like, man, Miami's right there. Miami's right there. Kansas City seems to be dominating, but it was, 10-7, 13-7. I'm like, they're one score away. I mean,
Sure.
they're going to have to learn how to finish in the red zone, which is really odd because Kansas City in the red zone has always been a nightmare, right? You put it on the board for six automatically almost. But if they have to keep settling for field goals and Butker 4 field goals, like like that's gonna sooner or later that's gonna come back to bite them. You know, you
Oh,
can't settle
definitely.
for field goals.
And I totally agree with you. I drop passes again. Now maybe these are more acceptable because of the weather, but Travis Kelsey moving his head to
Uh,
run before he catches the ball. It's
yeah,
those little things though. Juju Smith-Schuster dropped a good one. And thank goodness Rashi Rice was able to hold on to him. But I feel like if you look at every pass that was thrown to him, it was literally on the go. So it was right there, for him to get. The other
yeah,
ones, you could say maybe a little too high, too low, and again, maybe because it's the weather. But they've had drop pass issues all year, and so at some point you have to say, I make all this money because I play this game, and this is my position, right? Butker did his job, right? His job is to kick
yeah,
field goals, and he's kicking rocks out there, and kick 4 of them through. So
yeah.
Definitely, definitely. While I was watching the game, I never felt that Kansas City won the game until probably the last 2 minutes. And that was mainly off of Miami's calls towards the end. Right. Like I always felt like Miami was in the game. They were only one score away. It's still a ball game, plenty of time. And, even after Kansas City's late touchdown, you still got time. Okay, let's go. But it wasn't towards till the last, couple of minutes. I'm like, this game's over. There's no way they're gonna catch up to this. But I felt like that was more Miami's fault, not dominant Kansas City defense. Um, Definitely felt like it was more of a play calling issue, like they couldn't get things going. But maybe it was just me.
Well,
Moving
you
on
said
to
18 carries, right? I mean,
yeah,
18
yeah,
carries for a game that's that long. I mean, that's not very many carries. That's like the amount of carries one back should be getting. And I mean, you said 76 yards. I mean, that's an average of 4 yards a carry. So it's not
correct.
like I mean, simple math says you run it for 4 yards on first, you run it for 4 yards in second, you're in third and two.
right,
Like, and it's not
Correct.
like they were down 20 points and having to throw the rock to come back because they're worried about losing time. So a little bit of this is on Mike McDaniels and the play calling as well, in my opinion. Um, where do they go from here? Man, I mean their defense, you feel bad because their defense, they were missing a lot of defensive guys. But I just don't know with that style of offense that quick strike, deep pass, if that's sustainable in playoff football. It's fun to watch, but I don't know long term if especially with Tua under center, they are going to need to balance that thing out a lot more and rely on Mostert, rely on Etienne or Etienne, however you say his name. And they're solid backs, but
right.
they just got to use them. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
again, in the weather that you have to run, right? I mean that I felt like that was the game plan first was to run.
Right.
And you would think with with the head coach just being as smart as he is and wanting to run like like zone read running. And the fact that they just didn't. It was like one cut plays and I just was so surprised. And like you said, four running backs for only 18 carries. I really thought we were going to see some more screens. And again, just the play calling that the head coach does, he's very good at that. And I just felt
Yeah.
like it was very vanilla, right? I think that's a good word for it. I just
Yeah.
think it was so vanilla. And I don't know if he overthought it, underthought it, but the thinking wasn't proper, I think, in this game, and it hurt them, right? And I think
Yep.
they have all the tools that they need. Is Tua the right guy? Probably not, in my opinion, as well. But you don't necessarily need the greatest quarterback out there. You need a good game through all three phases, and really Miami let this one go.
Definitely. You had alluded to the coldness and in kicking the football and it feeling like rocks. The only thing worse than that is trying to catch a football when your hands are frozen. The ball is a rock, and they're still slinging it.
Yeah,
80, 90, sometimes even 100 miles an hour. But those guys got guns. Trying to catch it when you're that cold is unreal. Moving on to Pittsburgh versus Buffalo. Buffalo comes out on top, 31-17. Josh Allen had himself a game, 203 yards passing, and 3 touchdowns. Added another 74 yards on the ground and a rushing TD. John, what'd you like in this game?
What I liked everything the Bills did. I felt like the Bills controlled the clock. I felt like they ran uh, very well, and I felt like they I guess from a pace standpoint, they went at the pace they wanted to. I like that. There's a couple of plays that they were running some quick plays and then slowed it back down when they wanted to. I just think it was nicely drawn out for them. I think they got ahead early and made Pittsburgh struggle. Being honest with you, I didn't think Mason Rudolph did too bad. Right, 22 for 39. I'm in the cold. 229. Average about 5.9 yards per pass, 2 touchdowns and an interception. I expect an interception at least one from one of these teams when it's as cold as it is. But I don't think he did bad. I think everything that I liked from the Bills, I just didn't like from Pittsburgh. Running game wasn't great. Yeah, as a group, again of four people, they got over 100 yards. It was like 106 in total, but it took them forever to get there, right? And
Yep.
it was
Yep.
it was slow. It was slow and steady. And I think if the tempo of the Bills had slowed down, I think the Steelers could have been in it. I just think when the Bills did certain things, and again, Josh Allen broke away for a wonderful touchdown run, but I just think Bills got ahead early. Steelers were grasping at trying to get whatever they could going, and it didn't work for them.
Mike?
Yeah, agree with John. Interestingly enough, though, in the fourth quarter, there was a moment where you're like, "Wow, it's only a 7 point game. Can Pittsburgh actually pull this off?" So I do feel like Buffalo let off the gas pedal a little bit late. Um, so real quick question: do you think the governor moving this game to Monday had anything to do with the fact that it wasn't ideal Josh Allen conditions?
Yeah, that's a
Ooh,
good question.
I mean, no one's
maybe.
no one's brought that up, but I mean, like Buffalo doesn't want wind when he's throwing that rock. I mean, honestly, I think Pittsburgh had a better chance on Sunday than they did on Monday. And I mean, for a governor to just say, "Oh, cool, hey, we're not playing games today. We're gonna play them tomorrow." Um, I don't know. Might be a hot topic to discuss, right? Also, I love how they got all these people off the streets to come shovel snow, thinking the whole stadium was gonna be clean. And I didn't realize they only cleaned the field and left all the bleachers full of snow. I mean,
Full of snow.
poor fans sitting there. My wife's like, "Man, these guys' pants are all wet before they even start the game. This guy has to be
Eh,
miserable for them. They're all standing in the snow." They said no seats were assigned because you couldn't even see where your row was, your seat was.
Man,
Now those are fans. That Bills Mafia, those are fans.
yeah.
But um, yeah, Buffalo did its thing. They jumped early on him for sure. I don't like the Josh Allen run for a touchdown. I think that's everything wrong with today's game. If he wants to later on in the fourth quarter goes in, fakes or in that long run, he fakes a slide and the defender pulls back because he doesn't want to get penalized and he ends
Yep.
up running for another 30 yards. Yet later on in the fourth quarter, goes in, slides, gets hit this time because the defender's like, I'm not gonna pull back. He faked last time and gets a flag on it. Um, at some point, if these guys are running quarterbacks, I don't care if they slide or not. If they take that hit, they take that hit. Like this fake slide thing is a problem. What's a defender supposed to do? I mean, it's you're running full speed and these guys going very quick. Seeing a quarterback pretend like he's gonna slide and pull up, like that should be just as much a flag as them hitting the guy when he slides. Because it's just too hard. It's too dumb of a game at that point. Defenders don't know what to do. You stand up. I mean, it's impossible. So but credit to Josh Allen for using it to his advantage. But I do see potentially a rule change on that in the future. Buffalo looks good. Buffalo's really got things going together since they fired their offensive coordinator. We've been talking about how they're rushing the ball more, being a little bit more methodical with their drives. Stephon Diggs isn't happy about that because he's not catching the rock nearly as much, but it's dubs and they've gotten quite a few. But now we'll see what happens this week. There's going to be a good game between them and Kansas City. So Pittsburgh, feel bad for Tomlin, man. He's a good coach. Watching this game, I realized how good of a coach he is. But the team sucks. Like
Yeah.
like that team should not have been in the playoffs. That team should not have been a 10-win team. Um, early on in the year, yeah, it was their defense, but their defense struggled at late. So I'm like, how the heck are they winning games? I mean,
Right.
Tomlin deserves better, to be honest. And they're stuck. They're stuck in mediocrity. I don't know how they get out of it. Maybe they need to tank. Maybe they need to go all in. I mean, I can't see them competing even if they bring in one or two guys. They do have a good running game. They do have some good receivers, and their defense is solid. So maybe you bring in a good quarterback. But um, I don't know. Pittsburgh's got some big issues. I think I just heard today Tomlin already announced his intention of coming back for
Yeah.
2024. So, which he has another year on his contract. I mean, how do you let the man go when he hasn't lost, a game for you in 17 seasons? I mean,
Right.
a losing season in 17 seasons. Like that's unheard of in today's NFL. And so, but again, at what cost, right? You're not really getting good draft picks. Their draft picks that they are drafting aren't really panning out. You're going through 1, 2, 3 different quarterbacks. You got, Mitch Trubisky on your bench that you went out and got as a potential replacement for Pickett, and he's turned out to be, Mitch Trubisky.
Same guy.
But and you go back to Mason Rudolph, who you had a few years ago, and I don't know, man. Pitt has some major issues, but good on Buffalo. Good win for Buffalo. Moving on. This is why they needed the division so they could play at home. Now they got a home game this upcoming week versus Chiefs, so it should be good.
You're absolutely right about that fake slide. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a point of emphasis for next year, that they make some real changes in the preseason to see how it pans out. You already said Tomlin already said that he's returning in 24. Before that announcement, there were some professionals, we'll call them, that alluded to maybe, what do you think about Tomlin maybe in Dallas or Philly? Guys that are possibly on the hot seat when McCarthy and Sirianni, and taking their spot and having that quarterback position solidified already. And okay, here's the extra piece. We can take your already stacked defensive rosters and build on top of that with these defensive guys and Tomlin and Belichick. Belichick was the other name in those two teams. So it'll be interesting to watch when in this next couple of weeks to see where teams head to. Moving on to Houston and versus Cleveland. Houston beats Cleveland 45-40. I did not see this coming. I was one of those that picked Cleveland. Andrew was the only one that picked Houston to win this. So we're going to give Andrew a shout out to that real quick because I know he's not on today. Out enjoying time with the family. Stroud, man, just impressive day. 274 and 3 touchdowns. Flacco started off rough with those 2 pick sixes, and then but still put up 300 and a touchdown towards the end. But that's kind of been toward the end of Flacco's career, right? Like turnovers were just killing him in Baltimore before they moved on with Lamar Jackson. CJ Stroud is now tied the rookie record for most TDs in a playoff game with 3. What impressed me the most about that game wasn't even CJ Stroud. It was Houston's defense. 11 tackles for losses, 4 sacks, and 2 touchdowns. 11 tackles for loss against a team that was supposed to be at least decent running the ball, right? You had a veteran quarterback. Cleveland led the NFL in total defense, yet they gave up 45 points to Houston. Mike, what'd you like in this game?
So I thought Cleveland's defense was good, and they weren't. Letting a rookie go off like that, like I thought they'd confuse him. I thought they'd go after him. They'd blitz him. They'd shut him down, and they didn't. Yeah, that was really disappointing to me. I know Flacco gave up 14 points or gave them 14 points, but still, I mean, you still gave up 31 points to to them, and you're an elite defense. I mean, you talk about Super Bowl caliber defenses, and Cleveland for the most part all year was one of those defenses. Um, other than that, give CJ Stroud his props. Houston is definitely rolling, but it'll be interesting to see them go on the road. I don't know. That might get ugly next week versus Baltimore. I hope not, but I think everyone's high on Houston, and I think you kind of need to take a step back. It's one thing to win a playoff game at home. It's another to be a rookie, go on the road, and in probably terrible weather conditions over there too, and have to play in that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next week. But Cleveland, good year. I mean, their coach deserves credit for what he did, getting them this far. Um, they were favored in this game, so it was a little bit of a letdown, I guess, even though they were on the road. But um, yeah, give Houston some credit. Houston, I did not see that coming. Good call, Andrew.
John?
So I'll start with the Browns. Very disappointed in the run game. Jerome Ford, young kid. I think there's some potential there. But Kareem Hunt, I think it's time for him to go. I think he needs to hang it up. Right. Good player in his prime. I think he's well past his prime, and he's taken a roster spot for a team that only needs a few more pieces in order to be a full, well-rounded, complete team.
Well, he was
David and
gone,
Joe,
right? He started the
Yeah.
year retired, yeah?
Yeah.
yes. But
Yeah.
they
And then they
picked him.
brought him
They picked him
back.
up as a veteran running back, and I
Yeah.
I
Right.
get it. I get it to an extent. But I again, I just think he's done. I think they could have. There's other options out there that they might have
Yeah.
might have
Leonard
gotten for.
Fournette.
Yeah.
They could have picked up Fournette off the practice squad.
So yeah, definitely a few different options out there. David Njoku, I can just rave about this guy over and over
What a
again because
beast.
and utilized more this year than other years, but I mean, just I would say underutilized in his career. This guy's a monster, and you got to
Yeah.
use him. When you have a monster on your team, you use him, and he's such a threat. He's such a big body to throw to, and when he catches, he can catch in stride and run with the best of them. So, I think, like I said, they got some pieces there. Harrison Bryant did really good. Four catches for 65 yards. Amari Cooper 4 for 59. Even David Bell was getting some catches out there. So they got some good pieces out there. Obviously Flacco's not the answer. Not sure that Deshaun Watson is the answer. I would even challenge, is that the worst trade ever with the amount of picks that they've traded to lo and behold Houston.
Yeah.
But maybe that's another story for another time. But I want to sound like a fanboy here for a couple minutes on Houston because my goodness, I was just such a fan of what happened. So C.J. Stroud, we talked about it a little bit. So 16 for 21, 274 yards, but he averaged 13 yards per pass. Holy moly! That's awesome for a young kid. Quarterback rating of 98.4. Devin Singletary. The stats don't say and show what he actually did. So 13 carries for 66 yards. I get that. But every time he carried the ball, he carried like he was mad. Like it was fierce rushing to get first downs, and it was multiple. It was to get field position on what they needed. So and then Nico Collins goes without saying, six receiving catches for 96 yards. That guy is a monster. 7 targets, only dropped one, but found himself so many opportunities, and I think he'll continue to do so because I think this kid's going to be a star. Um, Brevin Jordan, I did want to call him out for one reception for 76 yards. Don't really know who he is for most people, but he definitely made a name for himself because he had a huge reception in the game. Yeah, wonderful game. Props to Houston. I think that they're going to struggle the rest of the way, but I said that before, and they took down a really good team. So we're just going to have to see. But Houston owned the day, and what a game!
Huge props to Houston for sure. Cleveland only has one playoff win since 1995, and I'll tell you why that plays into factor here when we move on. More importantly, for those watching, I'm going to put this question up here. Who do you think has more playoff wins since 2002, Houston or Dallas? You can drop your answer in the comments. And now that you had enough time, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not Dallas. Houston has 5 playoff wins to Dallas's 4, and that's impressive. We're gonna move on to the to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay over Philly. We knew this was coming, right? Tampa Bay won 32-9 over Philly. Baker Mayfield 337 and 3 touchdowns. Hurts still had an okay day with 250 and a TD, but you could see that was way towards the end, way too late. John, what did you see in this game?
So what stood out to me was the dysfunctional way the Eagles communicated, the dysfunctional way that they played. I was severely disappointed in everyone but Devonta Smith. He came out and did something, and God bless him for that, because I think had that not happened, this would have been even uglier than what it was. At some point, Dallas Goedert was yelling at Jalen Hurts, and Hurts took it like a champ, but you can tell there was just a lot wrong. Um, the run game, I think, hurt what Hurts wanted to do. I think run game sets up the pass. The run game didn't help him at all. DeAndre Swift 10 carries for 34 yards. Kenneth Gainwell 4 carries for 3 yards, and Hurts ran for 1 carry for himself. That didn't help the passing game at all. And so when you're one dimensional and you're already feeling so much pressure, like I feel like Hurts was with the dynamic that was around him, um, it's a recipe for disaster. So nothing great to say from the Eagles side. Baker Mayfield, though, came out swinging early. He came out throwing that ball, guns blazing in the first quarter. It was like something to the effect of 137 yards. I think I'm right on that. But man, he just came out throwing that ball, and the Bucks were better for it. So really good game from the Bucks. I think all 3 phases did well, and a complete showing from a team that says that they're supposed to be in the playoffs, and they look really formidable. So I think they're going to have a good showing, and we'll see what happens next.
Speaking about Philly and the Eagles, shout out to Oscar. Oscar, we see you in the comments, bud. Glad you could join us. We are very sorry that Philadelphia didn't pan out. Hopefully they can turn things around. So I saw that the last matchup between Philly and Tampa Bay, Philly actually rushed a total of 40 times. They have 40 carries for over 200 yards. Okay. And then all of a sudden, they got to this game, and in this game, they had 15 total attempts for 42 yards. That is wild. You already had the blueprint of how to beat the Bucks, and then you just went completely away from it. Like, we're going to throw the ball instead up against a pretty formidable back end defense, right? Winfield's he's an all pro safety. Like you, sure. You want to force him to come up and support the run to then give you shots in the passing game, not let him stand back there and dictate where you're going to toss the ball. Especially in those 3rd and long situations that Philly constantly set themselves up in. What was bizarre to me is that Todd Bowles has historically been known to be an all-out blitzer. Cover 0, cover 1. So you have either one safety high or you have no safety help at all, and we're going to blitz you and to force you to get that ball out early. I mean, he's just been known for that the entire time he's been a DC, the entire time he's been a coach. All his defensive has shown that. And yet you still decide in that, knowing we got to get the ball out quickly, we're going to set everybody on 4 verticals. 4 verticals? Are you serious? There's no pick routes. Pick routes. I know that those are illegal, but rub routes, they happen all the time in the NFL. None of that. No crossing patterns. Nothing. I think on another 3rd and long, Another blitz by Tampa. What does Philly do? Everybody curls. What? Are you serious? This is your game plan? So I really feel like Philly has a lot more issues than just what's going on in the locker room. I think coaching definitely played a part, right? They obviously lost both coordinators. Hurts was hurt. Thank you, Oscar, for that. But they definitely have pieces, and if they can get somebody in there to fix what's going on in the locker room, fix the play calling, I think they still can make another playoff run. Mike, what'd you see?
So, a couple things. You said how many carries? 15 carries.
15 carries, 42
I'm
yards.
I'm willing to bet that in the first two quarters that Philadelphia had more missed tackles than they did carries running the ball. It seemed
Fair.
like, I mean, that one. I mean, yeah, Baker Mayfield lit them up, but the reality is like those should have been 10-yard gains, 5-yard gains, tackle for losses, and I mean it was just missed tackle after missed tackle. So the defense doesn't know how to tackle. Wasn't it just like a year or two ago that we were all praising Alabama QBs, and now look where they are, right? You
All
got
of them.
Bryce Young, you got Mac Jones, you got Jalen Hurts. I
Tua.
mean,
Yep.
I
All of them.
mean, they're not doing very well anymore. You know, Eagles paid Hurts, but he really only had one good season.
Sure.
So it was kind of an unfortunate time because he balled out last year. Had a good offensive coordinator, and they had to commit that much money to him. But I mean, really, this could be another Russell Wilson situation here in the upcoming years. They may be, cutting that loose and calling their, taking their losses as it is. I don't know. I don't know that he's proven himself to be an elite quarterback yet. Philadelphia's was just bad. I mean, just bad. It all started when AJ Brown on Wednesday said he's out for the game and cleared his locker. I mean, you knew it was done at that point. In all honesty,
Yep.
I was just mad I had picked the Eagles on Tuesday, to be honest, because I was like, man, now I just wasted that pick. Not many teams put up 12 points and happen to end the game with less points than they put up. So they kicked that field goal. Which Sirianni, why are you kicking a field goal down 16 with like 8 minutes left in the game anyway? That was mind-boggling to me. I get it's 4th and 8,
Get
but
the score closer.
did I miss math? Like, did you not take a math class? I mean, I know you're struggling. You want to get points on the board, but come on, this ain't 4th and 20. It's 4th and 8. You're at like the 30-yard line. I mean, why are we kicking a field goal? Like, and then they make
Right.
it, and offsides penalty gets called back, and then they go for it on 4th and 3 and don't get it. So maybe he was right to make it to get his point total up to 12. I don't know. He's trying to hit the over for the game or something, but just a whole lot of weird from the Eagles. What was once a all-around solid team looked like probably one of the worst teams in the playoffs that I've seen in a very long time. And I mean, just an epic collapse. A 10-1 start, and you go to this and you get blown out. Sirianni's definitely on the hot seat. Eagles have let coaches go for much less. I think personally he deserves one more season, but they better get it turned around quick. Jalen Hurts has pieces, and he's doing well, and that might be why he's done well. But is he that guy? I don't know. It's too late. They got a lot of money tied up with them. So credit to Tampa. I don't think they're as good as they think they are right now. I think they're gonna go in Detroit. I think they'll fight hard, but I think maybe the NFC South isn't as bad as everyone claims. But they've been playing well. So there's got to be a lot said too with playing good at the right time. Look at the Packers. We're going to talk about them in a minute. I mean, you just get going and that carries over. So there was a stretch where Tampa lost 6 or 7 games in the middle of the season, and they were, Atlanta was going to win the division. Saints were going to win the division. I mean, Carolina was never going to win the division. But the reality is, no one was talking about the Bucs, and then they turned it on. 6 out of their next 7 games, boom, they go on a run, and it carries over into the playoffs. And being able to host the game obviously is advantageous, as we can see. But I'm not a believer in the Bucs. I'm sorry. They play hard. You got Baker Mayfield slinging the ball. You still got Mike Evans there, Chris Godwin, a couple tight ends that I didn't know existed. Out of the woodworks came Otten, and another guy was like, whoa! All of a sudden they got Gronk back there. But it was a good plan. Todd Bowles picked them up for the game, and they played hard. They got through it, but I can't see them being the Lions. I just don't see it. And I know it's the shortest spread of all of them, but I don't even see it being that close. I just think if they get down, it's going to get ugly.
You had mentioned Cade Otton, the monster out of Tumwater High School back home in Tacoma. Hey, shout out to Tacoma. Shout out to
There you
Cade.
go.
Coach Beatty down there in Tumwater High School. Who, man, you want to talk about a high school who just constantly produce state titles, man. They do a class act job down there. Jason Kelsey out of Philly announced his retirement to his teammates. He's probably going to hang up his cleats, man. If there was anybody in the league, especially a O lineman, that just exude being a class act guy, Jason Kelsey is that dude. Showed up,
100%.
did his job, grinded, didn't complain. You never saw him, complaining. And now towards the end there, you could see him correcting Jalen. No, we're running left. No, I called the audible. No, we're running left. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, don't question the guy. It's going to be interesting to see though, how him being gone is going to affect that tush push, because that dude grinded that tush push. That the front end of that tush push was all Jason Kelsey, and so it'll be interesting if Eagles even keep that in their playbook. Let's move on to Detroit.
Honestly, they should have just run that play the whole game, the entire game, over and over.
Why not?
Oh yeah,
would have got more.
They would have got more rushing yards
anyway. Like 3.5 yards. Sure. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that Cleveland had one playoff win since 1995. With Tampa Bay winning, Baker Mayfield now has 2 playoff wins. So 1 win more than Cleveland. And you want to know who got him that win in 1995? Baker Mayfield.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congrats, Cleveland, for getting rid of him. That was.
And still looking for their quarterback.
Let's move on to the Rams. Rams versus Detroit, man. Detroit, who squeaked this one out. Dan Campbell and Detroit Detroit fans are going wild right now. 24-23 over the Rams. I knew this one was going to be close. It was going to be an absolute dogfight. I ended up picking the Rams to win this one. I obviously was wrong. Goff balled out, 277 and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 110 yards receiving. Stafford had himself a game, 367 and 2 touchdowns.
I don't know if he remembers it or not, but
I know that, man. Some of those hits he took were just brutal. The rookie Puka Nacua, 181 yards and a touchdown. I had saw somebody on Twitter compare him to Hines Ward. Big, strong, physical, loves to block. And I'm like, if there was any other receiver in the NFL that had played in the NFL, that'd probably be the perfect comparison. Sure. Detroit hadn't won a playoff game since 1991. They hadn't hosted a playoff game since 1993.
That was loud.
Yeah. Prior to that, they had no postseason victories since 1957.
Oh my!
You want to talk about like a city that is just completely engulfing and taking in this victory, is going to be Detroit. Back in 91, when they won that playoff game, it was Barry Sanders' 1991 team that beat Dallas 38-6. Remember those games, the Dallas versus Detroit games? Those were classic back in the day with
Emmett and Barry. Yeah,
definitely classic games. Mike, what'd you see out of this game?
So, I saw how important a kicker is in this game. So, real quick, no one's calling Sean McVay out, but I'm sorry. 4th down and 14 from the 44-yard line, the opposing team's 44-yard line, with 4 minutes and 4 seconds left, 1 timeout on the clock, and you're not kicking a field goal. I understand their kicker's been shady all year, but you're down 1 point. So you're going to trust your defense, which, yes, granted, in the second half was playing well, but we talked about all year, their defense hasn't been that great. Their
Yep.
offense has been good. So you're relying on them to get a couple stops with only one timeout in your pocket, down one. I mean, as soon as they punted that ball, I called it. I said, they're not going to see the ball again. And sure enough, Dan Campbell,
Yep.
trusted in
Smart. Played
Goff
smart.
enough to throw. I don't know why they didn't at least kick the field goal. Give yourself something to talk about after the game that, man, our kicker missed a field goal. It's over. But you didn't even give your team a chance to win that game at the end. And if you didn't trust the kicker, then that goes back to your play calls on first, second, third down on that. Maybe go for 4 or 5 yards, try to get in comfortable field goal range. But credit Detroit. Detroit played hard. Again, one of these teams that got ahead early, almost let it slip away late. But they were feeling the nerves. It's been a long time for that city. So, I put that as a little bit of the reason why that game got as close as it did in the second half. They stopped with how they were doing things and kind of let off the gas pedal, so to speak. Which rightfully so. You go that long of a time and you don't have the experience on your team. I understand that. Credit Stafford, dude's a class act. I don't know if you guys have seen the hit that he took. I mean, how the blue tent let him back in the game without a concussion. I have no idea, because he was staring off into space, seeing Tweety Bird, and all of a sudden he's back in the game a minute later. Dude's an Iron Man. I don't know how he did it. Still slinging it. So credit to him, credit to Puka. But yeah, and again, their defense stepped up, but I just don't understand how you didn't give yourself a chance to kick that field goal and win the game. I'm a little baffled by it. You're not trusting in. I mean, this isn't an elite defense. Like punting the ball with 4 minutes and 6 seconds left and you only have. It's one thing if you have 3 timeouts in your pocket, right? You can make a mistake or two, but you only have 1 timeout. 1 timeout on the 2-minute warning. So they get 1 first down. You're down the 2-minute warning, and they get close to another first down. Even if they got that first down, where are you going to get the ball at? They're going to punt it. You're going to pick up the ball at the 20, 30 yard line. Why not go for the field goal? And even if you don't make that field goal, you're getting the ball at the 15, 20 yard line.
Right.
So I really don't get that. And I know they don't trust their kicker. I know he's had issues all year, but why not kick that field goal? I'm just blown away by it. No one's calling him out for it, but I am.
John, what'd you see?
Mike's taking all my points, so I'm going to come at this a little different now. All good, my man, all good. So I'll start with Matthew Stafford being the ultimate point guard. Okay, so he definitely was able to dish to his boys like Puka for 9 receptions and for Cooper Kupp for 5, but he got to 8 different receivers. And I love a quarterback that can just spread the ball around and get everybody involved, because that's really how the Rams stayed in the game, which is getting all the receivers involved and all the players involved. But really looking at the Lions and what they did, they played the ground and pound game. Dave Montgomery, so 14 carries for 57 yards, got himself a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, not the greatest of showings, but 8 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown. But used the time of possession well, because I think the Rams' time of possession, I think it was like a 12-minute spread or whatever, but they use their time well in Detroit. And again, from a passing standpoint, Amon-Ra went off. Josh Reynolds, I don't think this guy gets talked about enough too. We went 5 catches for 80 yards. Definitely a solid, and I think he's a number 3 receiver, because really Jameson Williams was supposed to be the 2. But Josh Reynolds has given Jameson Williams a run for his money, and he can definitely be a 2 or a 3. I like him in the slot. I think the team did well. I think Sam Laporta is obviously not a big showing with 3 catches for 14 yards, but will be a safety net when needed. And so Lions are still in it. It was very close. It was the most exciting game for me. It was very exciting.
Right.
It was going back and forth, and it lasted throughout the game. And so definitely love this game. Lions on top. It would be interesting to see how they do next week. But I feel like they're in the driver's seat. So they snuck out with the win. I think they're going to do okay. I think they're going to go deep in this playoffs. So it'll be fun to keep watching.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little mad about this game, because it had the Rams won by 1, I would have won this week's picks.
Sure.
But because Detroit won, I tied with John, which I'll still take the tie-in first, John. I'll take it.
I agree.
The last game.
Sorry, you cut out on that one. I didn't hear what you said, so it's all good.
Oh, he said that 2 people
No,
got this one and you didn't, Mike. That's what he said.
no audio. I don't know. Oh, real quick, can we talk about Lions hitting low though?
Yeah.
I mean, Higbee torn ACL, might be out all of next season. That's the second tight end in 3 weeks that they've knocked out for a year. So, something needs to be done about that. I know it's unfortunate. I know it's unfortunate because you can't go high, you can't go low. It's hard, but I mean, you don't want to see that happen to a pretty decent receiver 2 out of the last 4 weeks for the Lions in this case. So
definitely never want to see somebody get hurt, let alone hurt like that. That was watching the replays made my bones hurt. Going on to the last game. This game, I told you all this game was gonna get rough. Green Bay balled out, beating Dallas 48-32. Jordan Love with 272 and 3 touchdowns. Man, Aaron Jones added another 118 yards on the ground and another 3 touchdowns. I knew Dallas was going to choke. I didn't think they were going to choke that bad. But like I said, man, Green Bay doesn't know what they don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know any better. They end up snapping Dallas's 16-game home winning streak. With this win, Green Bay now has 3 playoff wins in AT&T Stadium. You know who else has 3 playoff wins in AT&T Stadium? Dallas has 3 playoff wins in AT&T Stadium. Too much. John, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
Nice. All right. Well, Aaron Jones is a force to mess with, man. 21 carries for 118 yards. He was counting his touchdowns and letting all the fans know all about it. But what I liked was he ran fiercely. I mean, he took that ball and he was gunning for holes. Ran hard, took hits and kept going. Romeo Doubs, I have liked this kid since he's come into the league, and I think that this was his game. 6 receptions for 151 yards, 25.2 yards per catch average, with a long of 46 and 1 touchdown. This kid is a stud. He needs to be a little bit more consistent for my taste, but I like him, and the fact that he has such a high ceiling is really good for Green Bay and for Jordan Love for the long term. I also like this next guy right here, Luke Musgrave. It seems like these teams that are doing well have a really good tight end, and it was a really good tight end rookie class. And Luke Musgrave, somebody I feel like I could rave about for a while. Got himself a touchdown this week and did a really good job. And I think I talked about point guards earlier with Matthew Stafford, but Jordan Love did a good job spreading that well too, getting to 7 receivers and spreading the ball out. So, man, can't say enough about Green Bay. We play them next week, so I'm excited for that. But it's going to be a game. I'll tell you that. Probably a little closer than I originally thought, but it's going to be interesting.
Dak put up some numbers, 403 with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. CeeDee Lamb was kept out of the end zone, but still put up 110 yards. Mike, what'd you see?
So first off, John, thanks for taking my words out of my mouth. Aaron Jones was a stud. I totally agree. That fierce, great word for him because he ran hard. He set the tone early and often. But Mike McCarthy, how he has a job still on Tuesday, 2 days after that, I'm baffled. I've been saying for 3 years straight, dude needs to go. He needs to go. I am a firm believer that he knows something about Jerry Jones that Jerry Jones does not want to get out. Because how he still has a job is just mind-boggling. How you could say it's not his fault, mind-boggling. I don't care what you say. This was your best opportunity. The 2 seed fell into your lap, and you let it slip away. You let it slip away for not the first year, not the second year, not the third year. I mean, this is repeat. And let's just keep trusting this guy. You got Bill Belichick there waiting for a team. What other opportunity do you need? I know he will butt heads with Jerry Jones, but
Yep.
you know what? Give him a chance. What do
Right.
you want? You want to keep making the playoffs? Dak is I believe in Dak. I like Dak. I think he's a good QB. Um, him and CeeDee Lamb early on were frustrated. CeeDee Lamb getting in his face, not running the ball, not being able to score in the red zone all year. I mean, Dak had two touchdowns for the other team in this game. I mean, I just don't get what was going on. They looked like they were the road team. They looked like they were the younger team. Dallas just all around. I don't care about the numbers for Dak. 403 yards. That's garbage to me because they were just down throwing all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Agree. Every chance they had a chance to come back, it was 20-0. It's pick six, 27-0. I mean, like you let opportunities squander away. And again, you're at the 2 yard line and you're running play action versus just handing the ball off and going for 2 yards, running a QB sneak, push tush, whatever you want to do. They got some serious issues in Dallas. And how Mike McCarthy's there, I have no idea. I know they're saying the blame's not on him. Then who's it on? I mean, who's it on? It is on the coach. Like, if it's the first time, whatever. This is not the first time. I like, if I was a Dallas fan, I would not go to a game until McCarthy's fired. Honestly, like, he needs to be out. He needs to be out. How he still has a job, I have no idea. Um, as a Niners fan, I'm happy to see this because
Yeah.
I was a little worried about it. I feel silly for even saying that last week now, admitting it. Ask me again tomorrow, I'll deny it. But like, they they just tricked us. They just tricked us. They look good all year. Their defense looks good, and all of a sudden this happens. And hey, let's not forget. Let's not forget that first drive of Green Bay, very first possession of the game. It's 3rd and 10, and Dallas gets a stop. What do you know? Illegal contact on the play, automatic first down. Okay, so Dallas went from a 3-and-out to now giving Green Bay the ball. They go all the way down the field. Then they hold them to a 3rd and 6 from the 8 yard line. Incomplete. I'm sorry, offsides on Dallas on Micah Parsons. Automatic first down, next play touchdown. So 2 huge penalties on your defense. And again, a defense that has carried them a lot of the year. But again, that is coaching. You gotta
Definitely.
tell your. I don't care if you want to blame it on the defensive coordinator, which he doesn't get. Dan Quinn doesn't get a lot of flack
Dan
for that
Quinn.
because he had a really good year coaching the defense, one of the better defense in the league. But either way, penalties are a problem. If on the first drive you're at home, 2 penalties on the first drive, both for first downs, cost them that game. Honestly, that cost them that game. Put them behind. Dak started getting flustered. I mean, Dak on his first 3 drives was 0 for 4. Couldn't complete a pass. He did have a good long run. Had a pick six, or no, I'm sorry, that one he was ruled down on the one where he tried throwing it to Cooks. It should have been a pick six, but Cooks accidentally touched the what's his name? Who's the cornerback on Green Bay?
Jair
Oh,
Alexander.
Jair
yeah.
Alexander, yeah. So Jair Alexander intercepted, ran for the end zone. Should have been a pick six, but Brandon Cooks' head accidentally touched him. Then they hold him to a field goal. The defense held him to a field goal. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, here comes Dallas. Nope. McCarthy needs to go. McCarthy, that's coaching. I don't care what you say.
Definitely.
That's coaching.
Definitely. Got some random Dallas facts for you. Dak is actually 1-5 in his career. That's his career record with 10 interceptions versus Green Bay. That is the worst stats
Man.
versus a single opponent.
Wow.
By losing to the Packers, it marks 13 straight playoff appearances for Dallas without reaching a conference championship game. That is the longest streak by any franchise since 1970. Okay,
Wow.
Dallas is the first team to win 12 games in 3 straight seasons and not make a conference championship game. And I know I sound like I'm completely bashing the Cowboys, but I mean these stats come across my feed and they wow me. So between 1960 and 1995, Dallas went 31-18 in the playoffs, 16 conference appearances and 5 championships. Since 1996, they have 5 playoff wins. They're 5-13. No conference appearances, no championships. So if we want to get into, how long has a team waited? I know we talked about Detroit, their city's waited for a long time. I think in the next couple of years, we'll be talking about Dallas in the same boat about being
I
in the
mean,
Sure.
conference
they keep this up, they
championship.
may not be America's team anymore, right? I
Right,
mean,
right.
No, I think that's
that fan base is starting to die off.
Definitely starting
Yeah.
to die off. With that said, though, with Dallas losing and with Philly losing, my question to you guys is, and Mike, I'm gonna have you go first. Who was the bigger disappointment, Philly or Dallas?
You talking about the beginning of the season, or you talking about before this weekend?
Right now.
Right now, who is right now at this point with both of them losing? Who is the bigger disappointment?
I'm gonna go Dallas. I think them losing them. I mean, they brought it all back this year to go and compete. They figured last year losing to the Niners was a fluke. For the second year in a row, but whatever.
I'm
Uh,
about to say it.
yeah, but I mean, I'm just mad the Niners didn't get a chance to knock them out. To be honest,
I
but
said it. I said it.
I think that's a bigger disappointment for Dallas. You expected a let off from a Super Bowl losing team. Super Bowl hangover didn't kick in for Philly. You, I don't know. I guess it's, I don't know. I could argue both sides, but I would say Dallas. I think Dallas is a bigger disappointment.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, Oscar, cover your ears, because I mean, I can make the same argument for the Eagles, right? Eagles starting 10-1, powerhouse team, supposed to just be the team that everybody wants to be, and then it fell apart. And I think this question is really hard to answer because of the receiver factor here. So AJ Brown for the Eagles says, "Hey, I'm not going to play, and then I'm going to take my stuff and leave, and I'm going to go pout." And I just think that's a poor showing. But CeeDee Lamb did the same thing on the field, in my eyes, right? And would jog on some of these plays, and it wasn't until second half before he really kicked it into gear, and that's upsetting to me. And I will say Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott are two different quarterbacks because Dak at least wasn't taking it. Jalen kind of took it from many players over the weekend, and Dak simply didn't. But same result. So if I had to choose one, I would probably say the Eagles, because I think everybody was shocked. Dallas, I think, going into the playoffs was a bigger favorite and lost it, but I think Eagles overall for me.
I'm gonna have to agree with Mike and go Dallas on this one. I think Dallas had the stronger roster on both sides of the ball, and if Dallas ever had a chance at going to the Super Bowl, I think this would have been the easier route out of the last 3 seasons, obviously. But I think their collapse, especially, I mean, they just laid an egg that first half. I remember, I think Mike and I were watching it, and I'm going, dude, I did not
Yeah.
expect this. I knew Green Bay was going to come out. They're going to come out trying to, pull this out. And, but I did not expect that at all. I mean, by having them, we're like, oh, screw it. There's no reason to watch now.
Yeah.
Everything
I
else
think
was in garbage time.
I think Dallas had the easier schedule this year. So, I think it was expected
Mhm.
for them to be in the playoffs and, top three easy schedule and laid an egg, like you said. So
And guess
Definitely.
what? They finished the division winner, so they're gonna have the tougher schedule next year because they got to go into
yep.
division winners. So
Right.
yeah, I mean they are not in a good position, and I'm telling you, I think they need to clean house. I don't know how McCarthy has a job. Real quick, interesting stat before we move on to future games. My
Yep.
dad told me today because we've hit all the games, right? We're not missing anything.
Yeah, we've hit all the games.
Okay, so if you guys, let me ask you guys a question. Okay, you guys are the head coach. You picking heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails.
All right. It lands on tails. What do you do? Receive or defer?
You
Am
talking
I in a
overtime? What are you talking?
am I in a
Beginning of
dome
the
I'm talking
or
start of the game.
start of
am
the
I in a
game?
dome? A
I'm
dome
deferring.
or open?
Doesn't matter.
Well,
I'm still deferring.
I'd probably defer.
Okay. So I agree with you guys. That's the NFL rule. You defer. You try to score in the last 2 minutes, get the ball first in the third quarter, rip out the heart, right? Interesting stat. Every team that won this week scored first.
Ooh. And
So
the
many of
49ers
them on their
actually
first drive.
do well taking the ball first. I've just watching it, I feel like when the Niners go down and they take their first drive and score, we do a lot better.
It again, depending on the team, right? You have some quarterbacks. I think in the NFC, we've all heard the NFC quarterbacks aren't as sexy names as the AFC. But maybe there's some truth to getting that lead, playing
Yeah.
from ahead as opposed to playing from behind.
Oh, definitely.
My dad gave me that stat today, and I was like, "Is that right?" And yeah, sure enough, pops, I calling you out. You did a good job on that one. But yeah, every team that scored first happened to win the game. So
I would
Uh,
say my choice would differ if it was one of the cold games. I would take the ball first
okay.
because it gets colder in the second half, and just I want to see if I can get as many points as I can in the first half while everyone's pumped up and going.
Fair enough. I still think I defer in cold simply because you're expecting a 3 and out, get the ball with a little field
Mm,
position as opposed to a kickoff. But
yeah,
again, I
fair.
get both arguments. So I just it seems like everyone always defers when they win the toss, right? And I mean, the Packers came down the field again, helped by 2 penalties, but getting that 7-0 lead, you just were like, especially if it's a team like Dallas that has these
Yeah.
demons, like you saw them come out before they even touched the ball, and Aaron Jones was got that first touchdown, and you were like, "Wow, these guys just came to play." Um, and so, yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Matter of fact, I'd have to go back and look. Did Was there any game where the lead changed?
oh, that's a good
Oh,
question.
that's a good question.
Because
I
I
don't
mean, I
know.
know
I have to go back.
Packers were in the lead the whole game. I know Lions were in the lead the whole game. Bucks were in the lead the whole game. So the whole NFC, every team that scored first was in the lead the whole game. Bills
Right.
never gave up the lead.
Oh
Kansas
yeah.
City never gave up the
Uh,
lead.
the Houston was up 3-0, and then the Browns
Browns.
scored.
And
So
then
Yep.
yeah. Okay.
other than that one game, there was only one alternating lead in the game. So again,
Good point. Good point.
interesting topics, interesting things to think about as you move towards the divisional round.
So, in my coaching venture, I coached under a head coach. He had coached for the high school for I want to say he was there for like 33 years or so. Offensive guy. His son went on, played quarterback for BYU, and then finished his college career in Colorado. No, Montana. I'm sorry, Montana. Um, anyways, coach for this guy. You know, he was the offensive coordinator when I played for him. He wasn't the head coach at the time. He was the offensive coordinator. But interesting enough, during the coin flip, he wanted the ball. Didn't matter. We win the coin toss, we want the ball. We lose the coin toss, we still want the ball because they're going to defer.
Right.
And I'd always ask him like, "Yo, Coach Mills, man, like, why do we always want the ball?" And he's like, "I just want to score. I want the ball as many times as possible." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Half a hun by 100 or half a hun by halftime." I'm like, "All right, man, 50 points by halftime. I guess you need the ball. You score 50 points at halftime. I guess it doesn't matter if you're kicking it off. Who cares?"
Yeah, fair.
And again, if you have a good enough offense, I know the theory is on the defensive side or the deferring side is get the ball, score before the 2 minute warning, score after the 2 minute or score after the half break.
Right.
But the reality is, if you're a good enough offense, they're not giving them the ball with under 2 minutes. You're the one doing the
No.
scoring. So
Right.
who cares if
Right.
they get the
Right.
ball next? You're scoring with 5 seconds, 10 seconds on
Yep.
the clock. You kick off 2 times in a row. So I don't know. It reminds me of Brady, right? The Brady offenses where get on the ball, get that lead early, trust in your offense. I don't think any of these teams have this defense that you're scared of, right? This ain't the
Yeah.
old Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, the hard-nosed defenses. So why are we putting our defenses out there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just something to think about.
Well,
Fair.
so I say that in, my coach always wanting the ball. And then I'm on Twitter today and a highlight of Seahawks versus Green Bay in overtime, coin flip goes. Seattle calls heads, it's heads. And Matt Hasselbeck leans in and says, they're like, the refs are like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "We want the ball. We're gonna score." Later in that drive, I want to say it was like the third or fourth play. He drops back, throws a pick six.
Oh,
You want to talk about biting you
Yeah.
in the butt? You probably shouldn't have said that in the mic. He said that, it picked up through the ref's mic. We want the ball. We're gonna score, and they're in Green Bay. I'm like, oh man, that's terrible.
Yeah, but
Absolutely terrible.
overtime, you got to get the ball. I mean, that's
you have to.
with the rules, you have to. So
um, let's move on to the player of the week. I know Drew's not here, but I know who he would have picked. Obviously, he would have went with the homeboy, the hometown hero, and CJ Stroud, 16 for
why does he always
21.
pick the game he gets right and we all get wrong? He always picks the player from that team.
Smart guy. He's a smart guy.
16 for 21, 274 and 3 touchdowns. His passer rating was 157.2, which was amazing. John, who'd you pick for this week?
I got the Chiefs, Rashee Rice. So eight receptions on 12 targets, 130 yards, 16.3 average yards per play. He got himself a touchdown. Longest pass that he caught was 39 yards.
Mike, who you got?
He was the steady rock for the Chiefs. Sorry.
My bad. Didn't mean to cut
I'm
you off
not
there,
going
John.
with the rookie like you two. I'm gonna take the veteran. 3 touchdowns.
Oh,
3 touchdowns.
hey.
Aaron Jones, 21 carries, 118 yards. Count out his touchdowns. That's impressive versus a once formidable Dallas defense. Aaron Jones set that tone early, and he really added an element and brought Jordan Love, some much needed relief in that run game because he hasn't been there all year. Honestly, he's been dealing with injuries. Dylan has been there for a little bit. He hasn't done very well, but Jones was a big key contributor to this game. I'm glad he got his touchdowns last game because he's not getting any this week. So
that's right, baby.
Definitely. I'm actually going to stick with Green Bay, man. Jordan Love has just impressed me this week.
There you go.
Okay, the likeness between his stats and CJ Stroud's stats are incredible. They both went 16 for 21. Okay. Love threw for 272. Stroud threw for 274. They both have 3 touchdowns, and their PSRs are both the same at 157.2, man. Congrats to the players of the week, man. Hopefully they keep moving on, right?
No,
no, not at all. We don't want that at all.
You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Hopefully they move on to Cancun.
Too funny. Let's head on to the divisional round.
Can I ask a quick question before we get there?
Yeah.
So is anyone else disappointed? And then maybe I've never caught this before, so I think I should pay attention to this more often. But I'm a little disappointed that both of the first round bye teams have to play on Saturday versus Sunday. I would think that the suspense would be better if they played on Sunday. Is that I mean is that the rules? Have I never paid attention to that?
I think it's the opponents that they're played on Saturday, played early. I think because of that Buffalo game being pushed back to Monday, I think that's what may have caused, at least on that side of the bracket, because it wouldn't be fair for Tampa Bay to have to play Monday Night Football and then on Saturday, right? You're already getting a short week. So I think that might be more of the reason why they did it is they looked at the Monday night games and made them have to play on Sunday versus that would be my guess as to why they did that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, remember years ago there wasn't a Monday night game, right, in the playoffs. It's just the second year that's happened. So I think, and this year there was obviously 2 games on Monday. So I think that's what made everything change. So I mean, they're already on a short week as it is. Like honestly, that Monday game sucks for players recovering. I think that's a big disadvantage for them.
Definitely.
I'm all about NFL on more days of the week as a fan, but like if I'm the Bucks or the Eagles, like going into that game on Monday, I'm not real happy. Like turnaround time, I lose a day from the other team. It's just not right.
Fair enough.
Let's head into the divisional round matchups. First up, got Houston versus Baltimore. Mike, who do you like in this game? And give me.
I like Baltimore. I Houston's done. I would love to see Houston win this game, but I just don't see it even being competitive. Um, I don't know that
Blowout?
CJ Stroud. I don't know that CJ Stroud could go on the road in inclement weather and do what he's been doing versus a Baltimore defense that's well rested. Baltimore, the only way Houston stays in this game is with their defense. And I don't think, yes, they had a good defensive showing last week, but I don't know that they're known to be a defensive team. So I got Baltimore by double digits. I think CJ Stroud's run ends here. I got Baltimore by double digits, and it could get ugly. I think Mark Andrews may be coming back for that game too, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you add Dalvin Cook to the mix there. It's starting to get a little bit scary for that offense, but I got Baltimore. I got Baltimore big.
John?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Mike. I have Baltimore. I think the tide could possibly turn if Tank Dell is healthy, but because he's not, John Mechie is not Tank Dell.
Yep.
I can't name their tight ends, which probably isn't a good thing. So, yeah, I think the Buck stops here with
They
the
have
Texans.
Dallas's tight end from last year,
Yeah, Schultz.
Dalton
Oh, okay.
Schultz.
Dalton
Yeah.
Yeah.
Schultz.
Well, I mean, still, you're right. I think he caught like 4 or 5 passes, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just don't think I don't think it's going to be close either. I do think it's Ravens. I have them by 9, but I mean, we're splitting hairs, Mike, because I think
Yeah.
it doesn't matter really.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Houston. I know this
There we
might
go.
surprise you.
Wow. Are you Andrew or
And
Mike?
I know, right? But it has nothing to do with how well Baltimore is playing. Lamar Jackson still has struggles in the playoffs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Right.
he's got his first round bye, but he still has his struggles in the playoffs. Houston's defense really impressed me this last game. I know they only played Cleveland, but they did a lot of they did a lot of really good things versus Cleveland that really shocked me. I didn't realize how many veterans they had on that team. They did a really good job of stopping the run, and if they can stop the run against Baltimore, it's going to be a ball game. Because then you're forcing Lamar Jackson. You got to throw it. Their play action isn't going to work against us. Just like play action didn't work with Flacco, where that was Flacco's game. In his career, he's lived off of play action. So I do like Houston's chances.
They got to get ahead early though.
They do
Yeah,
have to
fair.
get ahead early. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Man, I really hope it's not going to be a blowout. But that's just the football fan in me, right? Like I want to see a game. Let me get down to the wire. I want to see that last second, or even an overtime, walk off touchdown. Like those are the kind of games I live for. So,
Well, we haven't really had that yet. I'm a little, as a
no,
fan,
we
I'm a little
haven't.
disappointed, right? Like I want
Right.
to see some better quality games. Even that Lions game, that got a little bit, dicey at the end. But I mean, you never really felt like, I don't know, you just didn't get it.
I'm still
So
waiting for the Kansas City Buffalo shootout. I don't think it's going to be the same
you're not
shootout
going
as
to
it
get it.
was, in that last meeting that they had. But I'm still waiting for one of these games to be that, and I don't see it in any of the matchups. John, what did you see?
We're talking
You
for
were about
Chiefs
to
and
say,
Bills.
well,
Oh,
that before I cut you off. I'm
oh
sorry.
no, no. I was just gonna say, you asked us the choice, right? So I think Ravens will probably beat the Texans. But do I want the Texans to win? I would
Yes.
love that. Yeah, I do
Yes, we
not
do.
want the Ravens to win. I just want to make sure I
For
throw my
Super
2 cents in
Bowl
there.
chance purposes, I
Yeah,
want
yes.
Houston to
Selfish
come
purposes.
out.
Correct.
I love it. Your next matchup is you guys, man. Green Bay versus San Francisco. I mean, I don't even
Wait.
know.
Before you get into that one, Mike,
Yeah.
are you only taking Houston because you called Cleveland on this like 2 process going to the AFC Championship game last week and trying to you have no other option than to take Houston.
No,
So no, I'm just playing.
no. I mean, I just it was almost like a Dak effect to me. Dak still hadn't proven himself in the playoffs, right?
Lamar hasn't. Yeah,
Lamar
fair.
still hasn't either. And regardless of how well you play in the regular season, it doesn't matter unless you show up in the playoffs. You got to
Correct.
show up.
Yeah. Sure.
When it comes down to it, you got to show up when the games matter. And so that's the only reason why I'm taking Houston.
Got it.
You know, yeah, CJ's playing great. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder. I think Houston alone has kind of embraced the underdog mentality and was like, whatever, we're gonna come and ball out. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see. You know, it would be great to see Lamar Jackson actually prove, you know, what he said to Dion in the draft. Oh no, they're gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. You know, I know you guys don't want that, but it'd be great to see him kind of get that one of those somewhere down along the lines. But I don't know. He's got to prove himself. He hasn't done that to me yet. So then moving on to your Green Bay versus San Francisco. I don't even know why I'm asking you guys who you're gonna pick. Who is that? What do is that your
Oh, that little minor,
49ers?
little minor guy.
I love it.
49er Santa.
I
There he
love
is.
it. I love it. That is great. Well, I know you guys are gonna pick San Francisco. So here's my question to you guys. Even with you guys picking San Fran, do you think it's gonna be a close game? John, you go first.
I mean, I don't know, and the reason for that is, you know, Eric Armstead back at practice, Dre Greenlaw, I know he didn't practice, but it was for a different reason, so I think he's gonna be okay. Logan Ryan didn't practice, but I think he'll make the game. Um, we signed Austin Bryant, really more for rotational purposes. We got a healthy team. We haven't said that very many times when we hit the playoffs. There's always, you know, one key player and 3 or 4, you know, kind of in the background that we're hurting and we're gonna have to figure it out.
Right.
We're healthy, so will it be close? I mean, possibly. The person rather that concerns me is the little machine when we talk about Mr. Jones as a running back because we've always had a problem stopping him. He's just like I said, a machine. He's really good. I don't think we have enough experience with Jordan Love, you know, to say how we truly can plan against them. I read something. I think it was earlier this morning that said by the second quarter, the Niners were game planning Green Bay in the Green Bay Cowboys game because just Green Bay was taking off. So you know, I trust in Shanahan. I think Mike and I both trust in Shanahan, and trust in who we have as leadership there, and players got to play. You know, I think if Purdy can just, you know, game manage and do his thing, and you know, I think it's fine if it's close. I still think we pull off the win, and that's not a fans talking. It's because I think we're as healthy as we are. I think we have that gives us the best shot.
Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, Green Bay run defense is not good, and Niners are number 1 running offense. So number 1 or 2, I think Baltimore may be ahead of us. But if his calf was hurt back in week 17, you know, 2 weeks off at this time of year is just fabulous for someone like him. That's invaluable to our team. I actually do not see this as a close game, one way or another. If Green Bay wins, I do not see it as a close game. So I'm gonna call again over 10 points, one way or another. I obviously think Niners. I just Jordan Love playing from a lead, playing with no care in the world is a little different than going against that pass rush of the Niners having to try and come back. This thing could get ugly very quickly. I think the public is all over Green Bay. Vegas wants Niners to win, needs Niners to win. Niners have a purpose this year. You know, I can't see them coming out and losing this game and feeling good about it. So just like we did to Rodgers, we're gonna do to Jordan Love. Welcome to the Bay.
I do want to put one point, Mike, before you go.
Go ahead.
You had said that CJ Stroud and Jordan Love were identical in terms of their numbers for last week. But
Yep.
what's one difference that stood out to me? Jordan Love was throwing off his back foot, getting hit, and so that it was a lot different than CJ Stroud with a clean pocket. So I will say that bodes well for Green Bay in that aspect because I do think the pass rush is going to get to him. It just depends on if he can get that ball out of his hands. So we're going to see.
I guarantee you, Green Bay will have a turnover, at least one in this game, though.
So with both of your guys' points, who do you guys think I'm going to pick this week?
Green Bay.
I sure hope you go with San Francisco.
You got the Andrew vibe. I feel like you got that
No,
Andrew vibe over there.
Nah,
I'm
he's going with San
actually going with San Francisco, and here's
Love
why.
it.
Here's why. Green Bay was able to defeat Dallas because Dallas's run defense is horrific. They're really good at pass rush. They're really good at covering, but they're terrible at run defense. And with with Jones going off and getting his money, right? That set up a formula and openness for then Jordan left to play action. That Musgrave long play was play action,
Yeah,
right?
fair.
That was we're gonna give the handoff to Aaron Jones, and everybody thinking, holy crap, we got to support the run, and now here goes Musgrave, wide open, nobody within
Wide
10 to
open.
15, nobody
Wide
within
open.
10 yards, and so I'm going with San Francisco because I believe that you guys have a better run defense than Dallas. I believe you guys will be able to at least contain. I don't think Jones. I think Jones will get some decent numbers. I don't think he's going to score another 3 touchdowns though, not like he did against Dallas. And if you guys can contain that run and make him one dimensional and put it solely on Jordan Love, I don't think he's going to get the numbers that he got last week. And so that's the one reason why I'm going with San Francisco. I know I'm giving off Drew vibes. I'm like, I can't pick them because your guys are picking them. But no. I'm smarter than that. Let's move on to Tampa Bay versus Detroit. It's a funny story. So there was a reporter who asked Todd Bowles, the head coach of Tampa Bay, right, his plans to acclimate the players to Detroit weather. And Todd Bowles looked at him. And you can totally tell the reporter had no idea what she was talking about. And she's like, how are you gonna, are you gonna change your plans into acclimating the players to Detroit weather, to not let it affect their performance? And he kind of looked at him like, well, it's it's indoors, right?
Yeah, that air conditioning might blow the ball a little bit more than that Tampa wind.
He's like,
72 degrees.
well, we spent about 20 seconds outside of the bus into the building, so I don't think that's gonna affect them very much. Which I thought was just hilarious.
Interesting point though. You do bring up. We're supposed to be getting a storm here on Saturday. I don't know. Have you looked at that, John? I'd imagine it's raining up in Santa Clara on Saturday.
I'll take a look right now.
Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're getting it Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I'd imagine the weather's probably going to be rainy a little bit up there in San Fran. So that actually might help Green Bay just because, a little bit, loose with the ball, right? Fumbles, things like that. But
what I tell you guys last week,
62 and cloudy. Okay, forget that.
Not bad.
Sorry, Green Bay.
I'm like the greatest equalizer, right? Inclement weather. But I had read that Detroit, obviously, since they had this long playoff drought, that their ticket prices are soaring. The get-in price alone is $646 with an average price of just under $1,100, dude.
Wow!
Unbelievable.
I heard you could see the Pistons the rest of the year for less than you could see this one game.
That's crazy. That's funny.
There was one seller. There's one seller posting 4 tickets in section 106, row 36. So we're not even talking field level, right? We're not talking like, oh, I'm 10 rows up or whatever. Each ticket was $12,500. Each ticket. That is insane.
Hey, those
But you know,
season ticket holders got to make their money back from the
oh
last 30
my,
years. So
30, I was about to say, yeah, forever.
oh my gosh. Anywho, all right. So the Tampa Bay travels to Detroit in a dome. Don't get all wild about the weather. Mike, who you taking in this game?
I got Detroit. I think Detroit got the jitters out last week. I think they were looking forward to playing Dallas on the road, and they were pleasantly surprised to see they get a home game versus Tampa Bay. I see Detroit. I think that this is where the run ends for slipper for Cinderella comes off for Tampa Bay. Um, give me Detroit by I'll call it a touchdown.
Okay, John.
I think Baker Mayfield's playing really well right now. I think Mike had stated earlier that if you hit at the right time, sometimes it's all you need. Um, White's running the ball hard. Mike Evans is always a sure catch. But that being said, I think I think Detroit, and it kills me because you said by 7. And I think Detroit wins by
Yeah.
7 too. But Mike and I haven't talked before this, but I agree with everything Mike says. It's a home game for Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown is on fire, right? If you are a betting person out there, you go on over on his yards. I think it's like 91, 92. Go over. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the run game is a nice, solid, complementary 1-2 punch that you get. So I'm all in on Detroit on this one.
I'm gonna have to agree with both of you. I'm going Detroit as well. I don't think. I mean, man, Tampa Bay's defense is good, but I think that man, Detroit just gives me a lot of grit. I like their aggressiveness. I like their physicality. If they can sustain their run and just stick to it, like there's no need to make Goff be another hero. You know, we saw videos of Dan Campbell, Jared Goff. You're good enough for Detroit. In I'll put that in the cleanest terms. But you know, if you, I honestly think the OC for Detroit should be getting interviewed for head coaching positions at least somewhere, because he's done a fabulous job with what he's done with Goff. If Goff can limit his turnovers, I think Detroit will win. If it gets out of hand and he starts turning the ball over, then I'm pretty sure Baker Mayfield will take advantage of that. But I'm still taking Detroit. I don't think it'll be close though. I'm gonna go Detroit by 10. And then we'll go for our last matchup: KC versus Buffalo, the rematch, where we want to see a gunslinging rematch, but we're not gonna get it because nobody can catch the ball in KC. It's gonna be in Buffalo again. You know, Buffalo's gonna be snowed out. I mean, KC can handle the weather, but can they handle Bills Mafia? I don't think so. I'm going Buffalo, but I'm going Buffalo. I'll take Buffalo by 3. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Mike, what do you think?
I'll let John go first. I don't want to appear like I'm copying what John says.
Yeah,
so
go ahead,
I'll
John.
defer.
Go ahead, John. I got you.
All right, so I actually got KC by 6.
Ooh.
Right? And I think, and here's the thing. I think Buffalo has on paper a better team holistically, right? Front to back, side to side. But I think they're probably going to screw it up and not run the ball. And I think that's what's going to hurt them. I think they're going to get one dimensional, and most likely it's going to be not run pass instead of only run and not think very clearly. But I think Casey's been there before. I think I don't know, Juju Smith-Schuster, and hopefully we get this. This is live anyways. Yeah. So Juju Smith-Schuster might be the guy that just comes out and catches the balls this week, or does something right this time. But it's going to be somebody who we're probably not expecting, and they're going to get the ball down to 20-30 yard line, and then we got kickers kicking. So I think KC wins by 6.
KC by 6. Mike, who you taking?
So apparently, John and I have the same picks this week.
Yes.
I called Buffalo going to the Super Bowl last week versus the Niners, and I still think that very well could happen. But until Mahomes loses in the playoffs, buddy of mine was talking to him like, "Hey, Mahomes has never won a playoff game on the road." He says, "Well, he's never lost a playoff game on the road either."
Oh, that's
So,
fair.
which is a great point. Until you take that from him, you gotta trust him. And I do agree with what John said. Josh Allen's just too much of a gunslinger to keep it under the game plan of run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And he's gonna have a red zone turnover that's gonna be costly. Although I do think it's a little bit closer on what John said. I think it's a 2 to 3 point win for Kansas City. And if Buffalo wins, I think it's within the 3 points too. So I'm gonna go Kansas City. I'm gonna give Mahomes the ball and trust him late, and
Yep.
hopefully Taylor Swift or someone comes out on the field to catch a ball. But I'll be curious if she's at that game. I highly doubt it in Buffalo. That's a little bit. You can barely see her in the little with all the heaters on inside that suite she was in. But Kelsey's mom will be there, I'm sure. She's got no other son to watch this week, so.
Oh,
um,
dang.
but yeah, give me Kansas City. Give me my homie, and I'm calling him the next GOAT, and so this is where he goes out and proves it.
My guy Drew commenting in. Donald's taking it KC on this one. Donald's taking
Good
KC. You picked too late though. Mike already picked first, so you must be copying him.
He watched me. That's why he put it in there afterwards. Dang it, Andrew.
Smart man.
Too funny. I don't know. Obviously, I'm taking Buffalo. I think Buffalo's going to come out on top. I think this is the year they finally get over the hump. Has Patrick Mahomes ever played an away playoff game? I don't think so, right?
No.
Like I don't remember him playing an away football game.
No.
So this will be his first one of his career. Craziness. Yeah. Crazy to even think about. Like,
being hit by snowballs too.
How's that even possible? I know, yeah, exactly. You're getting dosed by Bills Mafia on the sideline. Don't take it personal though. They're just trying to clear their seats.
I can't blame them, man. They're at the game. Hey, credit to them. I would not be there.
No.
I love it. Let's dive into the coaching realm. New England.
I just real quick. I can't see all four home teams winning. It hasn't happened in a long time, and I don't see it happening this year. So.
Yeah. No. That is right. Oh my God. Did I pick all home?
No, because you have Houston.
No, I took Houston. Yeah. There's my buffer right there.
Yep.
Let's dive into the coaching realm. New England hires Gerard Mayo to take over for Bill Belichick. Surprising move, and apparently that was already implemented. Yeah, that was already implemented into his contract as being
crazy.
Being the what's the word I'm looking for? Successor. Yeah. There we go. The successor, and that's the only reason why New England was able to forego the interview process or the that the NFL has in place. Yeah. But there's still a lot of openings left. I mean, I know Tomlin was on the fence. He walked out on a reporter asking him what his future was going to be like. I know he did report that he's going to be the coach. Do we take that as official? I heard Tomlin's name being thrown around, maybe in Dallas or Philly. With Sirianni and McCarthy on the chopping block, you can't.
I don't know that anyone's going to trade for him. I believe it would have to trade for him because he's still got 1 year under his contract. So
right.
I can't see Philly or Dallas trading for a coach. That would surprise me.
Agreed.
If you're Philly or
That
Dallas,
being said, I think he would be a great fit in Philly.
oh
I think he would be a great
yeah,
fit.
that I could see that. I could see that. Well, if you're Philly or Dallas, do you come back status quo, bringing back McCarthy and Sirianni?
Philly, yes.
Dallas, no.
Agreed. Yeah, same.
Dallas, no. Philly, yes. Hey, that's a. I'll agree with that there.
Philly on its final year. I mean, if
Right.
we can't get this locker room right, then you need to blow up the coaching staff and get a couple players out and get some bad blood out and get some good blood in.
Yep.
Oh, definitely,
Agree.
definitely.
And Dallas,
definitely.
like I said, McCarthy's. If I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm just like fuming right now. I'm fuming, and I'm not a Dallas fan. Like McCarthy is not a good coach. I've been saying it for years, and I mean, some of his play calling, what he does is just it's ridiculous. I bring in Belichick. What a great fit. You know, he only needs 15 more wins to get to the all-time record. I mean, he's not going to get it with Atlanta, where he's interviewed. Harbaugh actually interviewed with Atlanta today, they said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surprised the heck out of me. But I mean, Harbaugh's going to I called it a couple weeks ago. Harbaugh's going to the Chargers. Antonio Pierce back to the Raiders. Atlanta. If Belichick goes to Atlanta, I think that's stupid. I think he's in the same exact position as he is in New England. He has no quarterback. He doesn't really have a team. It's an easier division. Maybe that's what he's going for versus one of the better divisions in football. But I don't see him. Maybe he just wants to change the scenery and wants to go there. He's trying to get that record, but I don't think it's a good fit for him in Atlanta.
Right.
Personally.
But you're right. Atlanta's been tied to Belichick. They already interviewed Belichick. There's some mutual interest there. There's reports that they're interviewing Harbaugh. Harbaugh's already interviewed with the Chargers, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up landing there. I heard rumors that that Pierce is the front runner right now for the Raiders position, which already we kind of already knew. Drew's making his picks right now. He said Houston, Niners, Kansas City, and Lions. All right. I'll lock in your votes right now. Here, I'll put it on the screen so we can get it on video. Drew, we got you.
Your most important pick was the Niners. Good job, Drew. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Way to get that one right. You better not have gone through and replayed the live though, and then made your picks. That's not fair.
Well, if he did, he would have picked Green Bay because we all picked the Niners. So
whatever Mike picked, I'm picking.
I heard Raheem Morris has been tied into
interesting.
The head coaching positions for Carolina, Washington, and Seattle. Seattle's already brought him in for an interview, so that'll be interesting. Interesting take. Hopefully he gets a chance. That could I can't tell though if it's like a legitimate interest. You getting, division rival DC to come over to your side, or if it's a Rooney Rule. Hey, check it out. We got an interview too.
What about
What's the deal there?
What about Vrabel in New England?
I mean,
I'm sorry, not New England. Philadelphia.
Vrabel in Philly.
Like I could see that work.
I could see that. He'd bring a grittiness to it, just like he did to Tennessee. Ooh.
Yeah, I could see that. That. If I was Eagles, I'd go after Vrabel.
What if Sirianni gets cut, Vrabel gets put in, and then brings in Derrick Henry just to add that extra piece?
Does AJ Brown leaves for sure?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he definitely would be leaving.
Does Sirianni, in that scenario, does Sirianni go to the
Tennessee?
Seahawks? Because I think that'd be a good fit for him.
Yeah, it would be.
I know I'm wearing a Washington hat right now. I have so many issues with Seattle. It's not even funny. And I don't know if it's just because I spent so many years in Seattle. Everybody asked me, well, you spent so many years in Seattle. Why aren't you a Seattle fan? And I'm like, you got to understand, I went to Seattle Seahawks games, right? I went to the Seattle Supersonic games,
Ooh.
and Seattle, maybe it was just me, my young age, or whatever, but Seattle is a very fair weather fan base. Nobody showed up unless they were winning. Same thing with the Mariners. Same thing with the
Yeah.
Seahawks. In the same game, right? I'm there just trying to enjoy the football game, and obviously this was years ago. Matt Hasselbeck's there. Hasselbeck goes 3 and out. Hasselbeck, you suck. Blah blah blah. Get him out of here. Trade him. And then the very next possession, he'd march down the field. He'd get a touchdown. You my boy from the same dude. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And ever since then, I mean, and I've been to multiple games. Like ever since then, man, it's turned me off to that entire fan base.
Fair.
Especially when they started winning, and all of a sudden, I'm Seahawks fans, and I'm like, okay, name anybody that was on the roster before you guys ran this. No, nobody. Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's interesting you say that because my wife the other day is like, oh, we were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about, but I'm like, yeah, I can't stand the Packers or the Cowboys. And she's like, well, I thought your biggest rivals the Seahawks. And I'm like, no, I'm like, the Seahawks over the last 10, 15 years became relevant. But like growing up, I didn't even know I didn't even know the Seahawks were in our division. Like, I mean, like it was us, it was Dallas, it was Green Bay. That was the good old years. Like Seattle was an afterthought.
Right.
Well, Seattle used
I
to be
mean,
AFC.
Yep.
right,
They used to be
right,
AFC.
years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, once they got brought over, like they weren't even relevant. When did they come
Relevant,
over? They came over in what 90 something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think right before
I mean, it was
2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Because
That's why I'm telling them like they're not like relevant enough long time to be a rival to the Niners. I mean,
No.
yes, we had that little bit, with the Sherman days and Marshawn
Kaepernick.
Lynch and stuff where, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, yeah,
not
that
enough
wasn't,
history.
they're not on my, yeah, I mean, there's more history with
Yeah.
the Packers and Cowboys than there is with those
Yep.
guys for sure.
That's
Oh,
fair. I did like
definitely.
Sean Alexander though. I mean, Sean
Alexander
Alexander
was a
was a
stud.
beast. Yeah.
Yeah, he could run a
Okay,
block.
I'll argue with you on that though. The year that he won MVP,
hmm
right, and had the rushing record and everything, that wasn't Sean Alexander. I'll argue with you that was all Steve Hutchinson.
Okay.
Because after Steve Hutchinson left, Hutch left that next year, Alexander was an afterthought.
Fair.
True.
Nobody, and then who ended up getting the MVP? Because Hutch left for Minnesota, and then who got the MVP?
Yeah.
AP got
Adrian Pearce.
Peterson got that. So I mean, yes, he was a good back. Was he as great as
No,
no. A lot of people had given him? I mean, and I heard it all in Seattle, right? Sean Alexander, he was the MVP. I'm like, dude, you guys aren't giving your O-line enough credit. Hutch was the dude, and he ran behind Hutch at
Didn't
least
they have
80% of the time.
before that? Was that Ricky Waters there too? Wasn't he there before
Yes.
Miami?
They had quite a few backs that were decent, but I mean, nothing to holler at, right? Like nobody was scared of Seattle before the Legion of Boom.
True. No, you're right.
I mean, and I know my boy Dustin is going to be watching this live, and he's going to have an earful for me later. Dustin, I still love you, but man, I can't hang with Seattle fans for sure. Like half of my family back in Seattle are Seattle fans. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but Raiders all day, baby. It'll be interesting to see.
They may suck, but at least they're loyal.
Yeah, exactly, man. Come on, I'm gonna root for my guys no matter what.
You hear them all over the place out here too. I mean, every place I've ever worked at, they're 25 to 50% of the fan base there is Raiders. So at least somebody loves them.
I love it. I love it. I'm home. This is where I need to be. Now that we've run down the rest of the NBA, you guys want to talk it? or NFL, you want to talk NBA, or we want to save that for next week? I know at some point we're gonna have to transition.
I think let's save it for next week. Personally,
Perfect.
I think let's focus on the NFL this week. It's at prime time. We did our due diligence talking about that, but NBA is gonna get the spotlight soon enough. I'm happy. I'm happy to report that the Lakers now have more wins this year than the Pistons. So, other than that, that's all I have to say.
Congratulations. Yep.
I do feel bad not I do feel bad talking NBA without Drew here. Drew's the NBA guru. For those that may have subscribed to us over Reddit or from Reddit, I'm gonna apologize for Drew's comments. I know he might have pissed off a bunch of people in the Detroit Pistons Reddit subreddit. He has no idea what he was doing there. But if you're still with us, hey, welcome.
And go
subscribe.
Lions.
Yes, go Lions. Let's get you guys a ship.
And for the record, I do believe that Cade Cunningham will be an all-star at some point in his career.
Yes, and I agree with Mike as well. And we'd love to get him on the podcast. Let him know that.
No, let's go. For those that are still watching, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube at Jam Packed Podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at same at Jam Packed Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Jam Packed Pod. Make sure you come and see it. Watch us live. We're live every week. I think our schedule is about to change though. Yes, maybe. We'll figure it out and make sure we keep you guys posted. And yeah, man, we're ready for another week of good games. Let's go. From us at Jam Packed Podcast, we appreciate every single one of you, and we'll see you guys later. Till next week. Have a good one, you guys.
Take care. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.